Bem, gente, vamos dar
Well,
início.
folks, we will start our next block of presentations, the posters. Thank you, Professor Kira. Poster presentation. We will invite on stage Ewerton Alves Portela dos Santos to present his poster, Safety and Reactogenicity of COVID-19. Recombinant vaccine doses, and for age 12 weeks or 8 or 12-week intervals between the first two doses.
Gente, eu peço só atenção, eu sei que
I'd like your attention, please. Could you raise the volume of my microphone, please?
por gentileza, eu sei que
Please, I know some of you need to go away, need to go back to your go back home, but we must actually pay attention to the presentation of the posters. These are important studies that have been made. Even though some people do have to leave, I'd like your attention if possible. Once again, your consideration, please, your attention if you could. Let's pay due attention to our speaker's presentation, Ewerton. Ewerton, you have the floor. How do you how do you work this? How do you make this work? Thank you. This way?
Boa tarde.
Good afternoon.
Meu nome é Ewerton Alves.
My name is Ewerton Alves Portela dos Santos. I'm a medical scientific production analyst, excuse me, at BM. And today I'll present to you a safety study on doses for COVID-19, recombinant COVID-19 vaccine administered and for 12-week intervals in between the first two doses. Initially, it's important to restate that vaccinations is one of the best medical approaches to curtail the dissemination of infectious diseases. And we may observe, for example, a reduction. Where is it? Well, we may observe a reduction in the number of cases of smallpox after the start of vaccination and polio, which was eradicated in many countries. As for the effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccines, that was no different because they reduced significantly the number of deaths and they contributed, therefore, to the end of the pandemic. However, many countries have low vaccine coverage, like in Africa and Latin America. Also, it's important to bring to your attention the impact of the pandemic on the world, where over 775 million cases were recorded. Many of these cases were reported and over the past 7 days, and those are the most the latest the latest data. We can see that SARS-CoV-2 is still a virus that's circulating on a global level, on a global scale, taking into consideration that many countries with low vaccine coverage, the virus is circulating, and the Markov and collaborators and studies that say that depending on the viral circulation, it might be necessary to declare a new health emergency. So to hear, knowing this is quite relevant to know exactly what we're dealing with. The goal of the study is to follow up on the heterogeneity of 3 doses of the COVID-19 administered in intervals of 4, 8, or 12 weeks in between the first 2 doses. The study was a clinical case of phase 4, open, randomized, multicentric, and it's here they've been recorded by the participants themselves within 7 days after vaccination for each one of the doses. Still, they recorded all the adverse events that were not requested. Actually, the analysis in our study was the intention of treatment And the criterion adopted was that all participants that were vaccinated at least with one follow-up, safety follow-up, were included. As a result, 1,258 people were included, 3 research centers in Rio de Janeiro, Paraná, and they were distributed in 3 groups, and they were defined by the interval between the first 2 doses for 8 and 12 weeks. Data, 1,258 participants were canvassed, and we ascertained the effects of the vaccine. We have noticed that the event that's most frequently mentioned was local pain and the vaccination, followed by sensitivity to touch, headaches, muscle pain, and sleepiness. These 5 events were repeated after the second and third doses, with a change in frequency for sleepiness and muscle pain. We have noticed also that the frequency of these events doesn't seem to be very different in between the groups, and the frequency also, it's reduced as with the evolution, as per the evolution of the doses, despite notwithstanding the fact that these adverse effects don't put the lives of these patients at risk. We have to understand the time of duration of these events and how much they could affect the day-to-day activities of participants. On this table, we show the time of duration of 10 adverse events most frequently requested.
So, with the exception of the pain and the shot spot, we had the same event for the 3 doses ended before 3 days after the vaccination. And the duration also decreases with the shot, and we can see the duration is not very different amongst the groups, and they're common with the 3 doses. Still, the participants were oriented to classify these adverse effects with light, mild, moderate, and complex. And we can observe that approximately 40 to 50% of the events were considered as light, mild, and 62% were classified as light to moderated, independently of the dosage and the interval where it was applied. Finally, we evaluated the amount of participants that needed medical aid to solve an adverse effect, either solicited or not, and the complexity of these cases. And we observed that after the second dose, there was a reduction of 20%, and after the third dose, 40%, and these demands comparing to the first dose. And we also saw that less than 12.5% had not had emergency medical care. And it's important to see that the hospitalization or after the second dose, the first dose and second dose did not had an association with the vaccine, and we did not have also any hospitalization in ICUs or VITT. So we can conclude that the safety and reactogenicity
terminaram em pouco tempo, independente se a vacina foi administrada no intervalo de 4, 8 ou 12 semanas entre as 2 primeiras doses. Agradeço à comissão científica pela escolha do trabalho para a apresentação, à comissão organizadora, toda a equipe do DEAME pela dedicação nesse projeto e ainda à Secretaria Municipal de Saúde do Rio de Janeiro, o TECPAR e ao ERJ. Muito obrigado, gente.
Obrigada, Ewerton, e parabéns pela sua apresentação. Muito obrigada.